I grew up in a small town in upstate New York, a place where the woods were thick and the roads stretched for miles without another car in sight. It was the kind of place where everyone knew everyone, and the idea of encountering a stranger on a quiet back road was practically unheard of. But all that changed one night when I decided to take a drive to clear my head. I'd just gotten out of a long relationship, and everything in my life felt like it was slowly falling apart. I was stuck in a rut, unsure of what direction I was heading in. Work felt like a dead end, and I'd been struggling to figure out what came next. So I thought, why not take a drive? Just get out of town for a while. Maybe some fresh air and a bit of solitude would give me the perspective I needed. I packed a bag and hopped into my old truck, a beat-up Chevy that had been with me since high school. It was nothing special, but it was mine. The drive felt good, though. The air was crisp, the sun was setting behind the mountains, casting long shadows on the road ahead. I decided to take a longer route through the winding roads that cut through the woods and led to nowhere in particular. There was something peaceful about the emptiness, just me and the open road. As I cruised along, my mind began to wander. I thought about my ex, about all the missed opportunities, and about how I had gotten so far off track. The quiet hum of the engine was comforting, and I rolled down the windows to let the cool air rush in. The trees on either side of the road seemed to stretch for miles, casting long, eerie shadows in the fading light. I loved it here, and yet, something about the solitude began to make me uneasy. Maybe it was just the quiet, or the way the road seemed to get narrower as I drove deeper into the woods. That's when I noticed something strange in my rearview mirror. A car, a dark figure in the distance, but it was moving at an odd speed. It wasn't coming up fast behind me, nor was it far off in the distance. It was just there. At first, I thought it was nothing, maybe just another car on the road, but the longer I watched it, the more uncomfortable I became. The headlights were dim, almost as if the car wasn't using its full power, and it was swerving slightly, as if the driver couldn't keep a straight line. I tried to shake off the feeling of unease and focused on the road ahead, but the car remained behind me. It stayed at the exact same distance, never gaining on me or falling back. I couldn't see the make or model. It was just too dark, and the trees blocked any clear view. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. I reached for my phone, thinking about calling the local sheriff's office. It wasn't unusual for people to drive out here late at night, but there was something about the way the car moved that felt wrong. But just as I pulled my phone from the console, I glanced in the rearview mirror again, and the car was gone. I couldn't believe it. One second it was there, and the next it had completely vanished. My heart skipped a beat as I tried to make sense of what had just happened. Maybe it was my imagination playing tricks on me. Maybe I had been driving too long and I was just overtired. I tried to rationalize it, but the tightness in my chest refused to go away. I decided to keep driving, hoping that it was just a momentary lapse in my perception. But now I was hyper-aware of everything around me. The rustling leaves in the trees, the distant sound of an owl calling from deep in the forest. It was all too quiet, too still. The road stretched on, but it felt like something was watching me from the shadows. Then, out of nowhere, I heard it. A low, almost inaudible hum that seemed to come from the woods. It was subtle at first, like the sound of an engine idling from far away. But the longer I listened, the more it grew. It was as if something was slowly approaching, getting closer with every passing second. I looked in the rearview mirror again. Nothing. But the sound, the hum, was getting louder. My grip tightened on the steering wheel. I tried to tell myself it was nothing. Maybe it was just a passing animal, or the wind playing tricks with the trees. But then, I saw something that froze my blood. In the far distance, down the road, I saw two glowing lights. They were barely visible through the dense trees, but they were unmistakable. Headlights. I tried to shake it off, but they were getting closer. Too close. In the span of a few seconds, they seemed to appear out of nowhere and begin to speed up toward me. I had no idea where this car had come from, but there was no time to figure it out. I hit the gas, pushing my truck as fast as it could go. The headlights were right behind me now, glaring into my rearview mirror. Whoever was driving, they weren't slowing down. I sped up, but the car stayed right there, only inches away from my bumper. It was as if they were toying with me. I could see the lights getting closer, and my heart pounded in my chest. What did they want? Why were they following me? I couldn't understand it. My mind raced as I tried to think of what to do. The road ahead was just a dark stretch of trees with no way to turn off. There was nowhere to go. That's when I saw something else. The car's headlights flickered, and then the road ahead lit up, bright, blindingly bright. I couldn't see anything. My eyes stung from the light, and I squinted, trying to make out what was happening. It was as if the entire road was being consumed by a white light, and in that moment, everything felt like it was closing in on me. The humming noise grew louder, almost deafening. I slammed my foot on the brake, but nothing happened. The car seemed to be gliding right behind me, still matching my speed. Then, just as suddenly as the lights had appeared, they were gone. I was left in total darkness. My heart raced in my chest as I pulled over to the side of the road, trying to catch my breath. The silence was suffocating. I had to get out of there. But before I could even start the engine again, a shadow appeared in the corner of my eye. I turned my head sharply to the side. A figure. A tall, shadowy figure standing by the side of the road. I couldn't make out its face, but I could feel its eyes on me. The figure didn't move, just stood there, unmoving, watching. I didn't know what to do. My hands were shaking as I fumbled with the keys, trying to start the truck. The engine sputtered to life, and I hit the gas, peeling away from the figure as fast as I could. I didn't stop driving until I reached the nearest town. I didn't want to go home, not after what had happened. The truck was still shaking from the adrenaline, and my heart was pounding like a drum. I parked in front of a diner, and I just sat there for a while, staring out at the empty road. But it didn't feel empty anymore. It felt like something was waiting. I never drove that route again. I never saw the figure again, nor the car. But I know what I felt. And sometimes when I close my eyes, I hear the hum in the distance. I don't know what it was that followed me that night. Maybe it was a coincidence. Maybe it wasn't. But I can't shake the feeling that there's something out there in the woods, watching, waiting for the next lonely traveler to pass by. And I wonder if it will come for me again.